The large points lead of Stephen Verity certainly doesn't line up with what you'd expect on his results. A 0 in the win column means his position is strictly due to consistency. Meanwhile, Greg Sitespace has been leaps and bounds beyond most of the drivers' reach, yet mistakes, bad luck, and penalty points have cost him this season. Will either of their fortunes change today? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 6 of the PRL Indy Pro 2000 Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. While Silverstone is certainly a circuit made for open-wheelers, it could be considered a bit big for the Indy Pro cars. To see what makes up this place, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 3 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 18 turns along 3.19 miles. That comes out to 5.13 kilometers in metrics, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the high-speed straights and corners and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is most definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. However, don't discount the first couple corners in this latest iteration of the track. Abbey and Farm often require a greatly balanced car and some serious bravery if you're side-by-side. Corners such as Village, Brooklyn, Stowe, and Vale see the majority of overtaking action, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the draft to offer other opportunities. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting. Well, DJ, since the chassis on these Indy Pro 2000s are, from what I understand, comparable to an F4, F3, I suppose it's not unheard of to put cars like this on here, but how do you think it's going to play out?
Well, it is not at all unheard of to see an open-wheel car or two coming around Silverstone, Joe, but normally when we see those F3s or F4s around here, it is on the smaller circuit, on the national or club circuit, so it's going to be a little bit different on the big GP circuit. And as a result, I think drafting is going to be a lot more important than we would normally think about here at Silverstone. That means your best passes that you're going to see are really going to be blasting down the Wellington Straight, going into that Brooklands Luffield complex that we always love to see cars work their way around, and that'll mean that there's some good opportunity for fight back for the drivers, not to mention a good draft going into Stowe down the Hangar Straight. Now, we always like to talk about how these Indy Pro 2000s cars run a little bit less downforce than their bigger brothers, and with that, it's going to make the Maggots-Beckett complex extra difficult. I think you're going to have to see a little bit more application of the brake by these drivers to get this right, and the exit out of Chapel is going to have to be absolutely perfect if you want to get a pass working here today.
Well, today, the race itself is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net.
The PRL Indy Pro 2000 Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulations. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Now, in the championship, I was talking about Verity being up at the top, and actually Tyler Gore, currently leading the points. There we go. That's Steven Verity up there at the front. Alex Guyon, 17 points back and only 1 point back to Nguyen and Palacio. Fourth is actually Palacio. Nguyen and Palacio tied, and Alex Guyon. Menino, second place. Pardon me today. Sorry about that. Now, what's interesting, Greg Seitz, now I remember I mentioned he's had penalties. We didn't report, I don't think, last week that VIR actually gave him a 17-point penalty because of his start that we did cover and suspected that the stewards will not like how he brake checked the field on the way up. And it wound up being a 17-point penalty, unfortunately for him. But we have the amateur standings as well. And DJ, why don't you go through that?
Well, we talked about Tyler Gore always seeming to rise up through the field over the course of a race, and indeed he is sitting on top of those AM driver standings. Behind him, Brian Hotham and Sean Duhamel tied for that second spot, only 16 points behind. Behind them, Lucio Vargas and Donald Olson sitting back in a very, very close battle with Barry Cochran and Matthew Gunderson. This is a lot closer than you would imagine, even all the way up to Gore, as the AM drivers are ranked on their finishing just among the AM drivers. So lots of craziness can happen in that AM field.
And of course, we've got the Teams Championship. SRT Esport Blue narrowly holds it right now. Blown Tranny Racing trailing them by only 2 points. Rust Racing would be a lot closer if it weren't for those penalty points for Greg Seitz. But that has put them 25 points back. They've really got to get some good results here in the latter half of the season. VHR Racing Team 1 then split a little ways back from them, and SRT Esport Black just a small hop, skip, and jump back into the 5th position. What about our race details for today, DJ?
Well, this is the halfway mark in our Indy Pro 2000 series with the Precision Racing League, round 5 of 10. As always, it is a 45-minute race. Drivers currently out on track right now for a 15-minute qualifying session. There is an open setup rule tonight, so these drivers can tweak and tune their cars to whatever's going to fit their driving style and the unique nature of the Silverstone layout, but there is a fuel limit imposed of about 65% fuel, so they will have to come in for a pit stop over the course of the race. Now, in terms of incident limits, they do get a drive-through at 11 incidents and are disqualified at 20. We'll talk about that a little bit more. That may come into play here at Silverstone, and there are also bonus points awarded for pole, fastest lap, and 3 incidents or less.
Right now, as qualifying continues on for these first 15 minutes, Greg Seitz does have the pole, and Stephen Verity is right behind him. Only 3/10 between them, which is pretty much, I think, how it finished in the warm-up as well. So the Rust Racing teammates have certainly seemed to have found some secret here that nobody else has been able to match, DJ.
Well, and that wouldn't surprise me if this comes down to a little bit of a setup change. We've heard Greg and Steven talk multiple times about how they really spend their weeks perfecting their setup. And at a place like Silverstone, you have to find the perfect compromise between getting maximum speed down those long straightaways for the draft, as well as being able to get enough downforce through the twisty bits to keep the car pointed the right way. So based off of that gap, and I gotta say, it's a pretty big one if we're looking at it. I've gotta think that the two of them have a little secret sauce that other people are not exactly having. Not Menino, but Palacio. And Menino is actually pretty close. Are the two that are getting the closest to the 74 and the 04 in 3rd and 4th. In fact, Menino is less than half a tenth off of Julio Palacio right now. So that one certainly looks to be quite tight. J.R. Williams less than a tenth off of David Menino. So pretty much when you get from 3rd on down, things suddenly squeeze up, and just the smallest of improvements could find our drivers jumping up through the field. So David Hebert right now, currently the last driver with a time in, coming off the final corner, and he's going to improve to a 58.6.
but it appears that does not jump him up on the timing sheet. So instead, we switch to Dave Peterson, one of only 2 drivers yet to set a time. And this looks like the paved off tracks around here are tripping up both Peterson and Broomhead, because neither have been able to get a clean one in yet.
Well, and Joe, that's what I was mentioning about those incident points. This is a new school track, and the way that it looks is there you see Greg Seitz barely improving his time, or not able to improve his time ever so slightly. But there's a lot of paved runoff these drivers can go on, and what that does is it invites you to push the limits over the line. But if you stray over that line, you get that dreaded 1X, and that means it will invalidate your qualifying lap. It'll give you an incident point. And remember, if you get 11 of those, that means you are headed down pit lane.
In the meantime, Menino jumped himself up to 3rd ahead of Palacio. So those two have swapped around. We're looking at Bennett now, or Barnett rather, and he's going to stay in 28th after that one. More drivers streaming across the line. It's a pretty big field out here today, with 32 currently taking part here in the qualifying. This is Bart Cook on screen as he comes around out of club, a 55.6. That's definitely an improvement. So he'll go up to 17th. What about Edie? And looks like that one did not count for him, so he must have also had an off track. Takeshi Kita now, and the 16th position. And a 55.7 is about 3/10 shy of his quickest, so that's not going to do it either.
Lots of drivers struggling here to get a good fast lap down, as Donald Wilson is able to go a little bit faster, being in that 25th position. Here is AM points leader Tyler Gore making his way around through Abbey and Ireland there as he comes up, breaking down. Very, very tricky. This is a deceptively fast part of the track there. Joe Nguyen coming across the line, not faster, but sitting relatively well in 7th place.
Unfortunately, he was just 2/10 off of his quickest time. But what about our pole sitter? Will he improve? No, not quite. Looks like that was a bit of a slow one for him. Verity is just the next one across. Also doesn't find any speed. And then it's Menino. They're basically coming across in order. Menino had a non-lap as he seems to have had an off track. And what do you know? Our 4th place driver goes next. The 57.3 also. Still drivers struggling here in the final minutes to find some time.
Yeah, really trying to find that time and keep all 4 wheels on the track. Here comes Olivier Legault. Looks like that lap will count for him with a 54.681. That'll bump him up the field ever so slightly. Barnett looking like he is not able to improve on that one.
So we check in on Christopher Richards, our currently highest AM in the qualifying, but the 56.0 is actually well off the pace for him. So the 49 is going to have to go back around one more time. What about Declan Eady? Another one. Oh, no, he did get that one to count. It's a 54.8, and he actually jumps into 10th just ahead of Richards.
That's a good one for Edie. Here comes Takashi Kita across the line. That's going to be faster with a 55.174 as it rounds down to a 173. So that will bump Takashi up to 4th place. And here comes Tyler Gore.
So as Gore crosses, it's a 55.4, and he gains about 3 positions with that improvement. The track is staying about where it was last I looked on the temperature, 76 degrees Fahrenheit. So I don't think they're getting any sort of magic cloud here or cooling to help them. Maybe drivers finally just figuring out where to find those few tenths that they need.
Exactly. And one thing to keep in mind, Joe, you see how fast these times are coming once they come out of that last corner of club. That is important as Greg Seitz goes fastest. Menino able to improve but not jump positions there. But that quick run out of the corner, Palacio crossing the line, he's able to go a hair not faster. But as quick as it is out of that last corner, you've got to get the move done as you go down into Vale. You've got to be quick on it. You cannot wait for a draft down the straightaway.
So now we switch over to Brett Thurman and the number 69. He's also was coming through early as we now look at 31st. Looks like we've got all 32 drivers with a time on. That's Barnett bumping himself up 1 position with that latest lap.
Yeah, he'll be happy with that. Christopher Richards there sitting with a 154.954, but we're going to jump back. Here comes Edie out of that final corner. Little bit of wiggle. Got the power down just a hair early. He's going to power to the line, and he's able to improve by about 4/10 there, does Declan. That'll bump him up to 7th place.
It is still extremely tight from 2nd on down to 6th place. There are only 3/10 between Verity, Menino, Palacio, Williams, and Guyon. So we could see them get jumbled around with just a small improvement from any one of them. We're going to look at Nguyen, who is just outside of that group, as he's sitting in 9th. He's got a 1/4 just to get by Declan Edie into 7th place. So let's see if this is going to be enough as he cycles around out of club, takes it all the way up to the curb, down and out of that final apex. 54.2 is quicker, and that will get him into 7th.
Good job there as Greg Seitz goes faster once again, but we're right on board with J.R. Williams, not able to improve on that lap.
Guyon abandons his lap as we now look at Duhamel. The next one across, and last lap was his quickest. This one's going to better it by about 6/10, and that'll get him into 21st. In the meantime, Brett Thurman looks like he also goes mildly faster. He's up to 11th.
Here comes Legault across the line, unable to improve, so he will be starting off in 10th. Here comes Daniel Barnett coming through, the independent driver best with a 156.263. That'll bump him position into 29th.
Next one is Bart Cook, sitting 16th. His most recent lap was his quickest at a 55.3. He's the highest driver up right now that's still continuing on this last lap. The checkered flag having waved, they're able to complete these flying laps, and unfortunately that's not going to do it for him.
Looks like our last driver to come out here is Nicholas Collender. He is currently sat in 31st position and taking a wide line here coming into Stowe. It's very deceptive. He's got the gear changes right. That's what you want to do. You want to jump down to 3rd gear right about at the apex, not bring the car's revs down too slow. Here he comes down into club, gets it there. That's a compromised corner. You've got to try to set up for this, and here he's going to come out of the final corner. Can he better himself? He's way off time.
That's not going to get him anything. So our grid is now set. It is Greg Seitz on the pole, taking that bonus point, with Stephen Verity behind him in 2nd. Julio Palacio, the inside of row 2, in 3rd. And David Menino starting 4th. J.R. Williams will be P5, and Alex Guyon in 6th. Frank Nguyen in 7th, and Declan Edie in 8th. Row 5 has Owen McLaughlin to the inside, and rounding out your top 10, it'll be Olivier Legault.
Brett Thurman will be starting off in 11th position, followed by our highest AM driver, Christopher Richards, in 12th. Row 7 will be Jacob Exton and Michael Broomhead, and behind them, Takashi Kita, always somebody to watch rise up through the field, and Bart Cook to his outside. Adam Wright will be lining up in 17th, followed by Tyler Gore in 18th, and Matthew Gunderson and Brett Accord will make up row 10.
Sean Duhamel starts 21st with Neil Alexander 22nd. Paul Wildridge will hopefully start 23rd, but he just lost connection. Hopefully he can get back in the session here soon. Brian Hotham starts in 24th. Barry Cochran in 25th. Then it's Aaron Roos on the outside of him in 26th, and Don Bowden in 27th. Donald Olson will be P28, Daniel Barnett 29th, and Dave Peterson in 30th. Final row on the grid, Colander and Hebert. 32 cars that hopefully we'll see start, but could be 31 depending on what we get with Wildridge, who is trying to make his way back in. And it is, as always, a rolling start for the Indy Pro 2000s. Even though we've hopped over to Europe, we're not doing open wheelers European style. They're going to come in with a rolling start, and should be fascinating, especially with that awkward last corner coming through Vale and then Club. We watch on board from Daniel Barnett as the rest of the cars grid. And don't forget, if you want to follow your favorite driver, head on over to gsrc.tv to see live timing and scoring, and you can keep up with whoever you want, no matter who we show on the screen.
Yeah, and Joe, you hit the nail on the head. During the pre-race drivers meeting, the league organizers were saying that they will most likely encounter the green for the majority of the field while they are in the middle of that Vail Club complex. So everybody's going to have to be very, very careful on the loud pedal. I would not be surprised if we see somebody try to get a little overeager in the mid-pack, maybe spin the tires, spin out the cars themselves. So it'll certainly be something to watch.
And also, that pace car is going to peel off quickly. As you can see, the pit entry is very early on. So Seitz has control from here, and he's starting to speed up. Let's see if he keeps it consistent this time so that he doesn't get another penalty. And it looks like he is indeed off. So the green flag waves. Seitz gets a great jump, and so does his teammate Verity. They've both left behind Palacio, Menino, Williams, Guyon. Many of them are not even near to them as they come up to the first good opportunity to pass into Village.
Well, and it looks like a lot of my dire predictions were proved wrong. Everybody getting through there relatively cleanly as now they start to go through this new arena section. Looks like that was the number 3 of David Menino getting caught on the outside, absolutely getting gobbled up. Julio Palacio and J.R. Williams both by.
Menino side by side with Williams now as they come down towards Brooklands, and they're towing along Guyon. The Guyon doesn't try to get his nose in. Instead, in fact, Guyon spins, and a few cars have to scatter to avoid him. He's staying put, so it looks like we should be able to get away without anybody running into him. But obviously, he is going straight to the back of the field after that one.
And he got very lucky, almost running into his teammate of Olivier Legault there, but Legault able to avoid it. But we're going to focus back in on this lead. Greg Seitz starting to pull away from his teammate Stephen Verity. He's got about a 0.6 of a second gap as they go into the world-famous Maggots and Beckett's complex.
Already 1.2 seconds ahead of Palacio as well. These two really making good use of that awkward start to their advantage. Now, Palacio, as you can see, he's broken away because of that problem we saw with Menino. In the meantime, there's Menino poking his nose out, and he's got to the inside of J.R. Williams, who does not fight it. Williams lets David have 4th place.
And those are sister teams. They're both driving under the SRT banner, so maybe a little bit of team orders there not to fight too crazy too early. But good for David. We said he got caught out in that first arena complex, got caught on the outside, starting to make backup positions, but he still has about 1.3 seconds up the road to try to catch his other sister teammate of Julio Palacio.
We put the cameras on Seitz one more time, down into Village. And as he breaks hard into there, Verity taking a different line, though, but we've seen that frequently through this section. You can kind of go whatever suits you best and still find speed. But now that they come onto the Wellington straight, they're split by 0.7 of a second. So don't think Verity's going to get enough of a slipstream to close that back in.
No, I don't. And, Joe, I was watching Seitz coming through Maggots and Beckett's, and I couldn't tell if he made an error or if it's just a car setup issue, but he looked very slow through the middle part of that turn sequence, but just rocketed out onto the hangar straight. So something to keep an eye on there about Seitz's top-line speed.
We're going to watch that battle between 4th and 5th once again, because now that Williams has let him by, he's not letting him go. We hop onto the roll bar of the 213 coming up towards the Maggots and Beckett sequence. Let's see what it is like on board through this series of S's.
Don't have the full downforce of a Formula One here to keep you here on the ground. You can see those little blips of the rev limiter, him just having to feather the throttle through there. Looks like David does a very, very good job of keeping everything nice and collected there, so good job.
Slowdown penalty? Yeah, that's a slowdown penalty. Going offline and checking up just to make sure that he doesn't get run into by anybody. And that costs him a bunch of spots. He falls down to 8th, unfortunately. Now, right behind him, you can kind of see there's a whole train of cars getting close to one another. This basically goes all the way down to 15th place. And there are a bunch of guys involved.
Yeah, there really are. This is absolutely insane. Richards, Exton, McLaughlin, Thurman, Broomhead, everybody going all the way down there. Takashi Kita and Adam Wright really bringing up the back of that grid there. So this is going to be very, very fierce in the mid-pack. And Joe, we talked about how easy it is to pick up an off-track, and there you saw exactly how easy that is for JR. Just a little bit offline, and he gets it.
And only 11 incident points is such a small amount, so I think some drive-through penalties will certainly happen. Bart Cook in the 45 looks like he might have an attacker behind him. Brett Accord in the 151 is going to be looking to the inside as they come down into Brooklands. Outbreaks him cleanly into the corner, so give P17 to Brett Accord.
Looks like Cook's trying to fight back a little bit, but you saw that car getting very, very twitchy mid-corner. Looks like he's not completely comfortable getting back down onto the power is Bart Cook, so that may be something to keep an eye on during the course of this race.
And he's already leaving Bart a little bit behind, as that's Neil Alexander closing in on the back of the 45. In fact, a great exit coming out of Copse down towards Maggots and Beckett's, but he runs out of straightaway. Still, if he can hold tight and get another slipstream, going very wide, unfortunately, through the middle of the sequence. That'll not keep him tight up to the back of the 45. In fact, Bart Cook was incredibly strong, and he might have a chance to reapply pressure on the 151.
Here comes Cook. He's starting to fade to the inside. He's going to think better of it there and fall back in line, not wanting to go too aggressive too early, but very easy mistake there to make that you saw Neil Alexander do. Even with the reduced downforce on these cars, it is very, very easy to get caught up in that aero wash and to lose all downforce off the front of the wing and did not expect it, and that I think is exactly why Alexander ran wide.
Falls back once again, and Neil Alexander gets another bite at things. Sometimes you can see passes out of farm and into village. Let's see. He's going to think about it, but then he comes back to the racing line, so the 276 doesn't quite feel confident about it.
He does not, but he clearly has more speed than Bart Cook ahead of him. Now you see this is another great overtaking opportunity here. Get onto the power a little bit early. Power down the Wellington straight. It's a very easy corner to fight back on if you're Bart Cook. Alexander pokes his nose to the inside, not really taking a full move there. I think that's just a little bit of head games and seeing what Cook will do if he does it.
Let's head up to 6th place to Frank the Win, because I think he might have a two-wide situation in a Copse Brewing. Legault gets close, but he is not that cocky. Looks like Olivier is going to hold back, and that unfortunately will allow J.R. Williams to close in on the back of him as well. Frank the Win under a bit of pressure. We ride on board with him, looking over the rear wing.
You can see Legault and Williams doing a very good job of keeping everything together, but I think having to back off there through Copse is really going to hurt Olivier Legault here. Williams has a great draft, starts to poke his nose to the inside, now goes to the full commit. He's to the inside, going into Stowe. Late on the brakes, he's got it. Looks like Legault is going to try for an over-under, but not able to fight back. Position Williams.
Remember, Williams is slightly out of position. He had that mistake a little bit earlier on, getting the slowdown penalty, and I think that's the first one he's managed to make up since then. He's just been stuck in 8th place. Just about 4 more positions to go to get back to where he was before. Down through Abbey and up towards first braking zone. He's not going to be close enough to attack and win, but maybe he could gain a little bit more time through here.
He might be able to. You see them work their way around this. Well, we like to think of it as the new complex, but in reality, it's getting around to be 10 years old, so not all that new at all. You talked earlier, Joe, about the multiple lines you can take through there. It's really all about compromise. It's where you want to give up speed to gain a little bit of speed, but the thing you have to keep in mind is to get maximum power down the Wellington straight, as J.R. Williams just did, really starting to bring that gap to Frank Nguyen ahead of him. It's now under a half a second, down to 3/10 as they make their way through Luffield.
Yeah, we've had this for close to a decade, but Brett Accord, I think, just had a problem, and so did Bart Cook. Both of them in Brooklands and Luffield seems to have had an issue, and I'm not sure if they're related. Let's go and see if Brett had an issue here, because I think he's the first one. It'll be down into Brooklands, and I think you're going to see him spin. And I wonder if that caused the other driver to maybe just suddenly get a little distracted. Here's Brett's incident. And then the next one that spins is Roof's. Excuse me, no, Bart Cook, rather. And the 45. There you see, he's immediately off right after that, but he didn't even come close to touching him.
So we watch Bart here, good overhead shot. You can see a cord just start to lose it. Brett looks like he got those left side tires up onto the sausage curves a little bit. Maybe a little bit of incident fixation out of him, just focusing on the spinning Brett a cord and not really getting his line correctly. So both of those guys going to fall down the order here.
Unfortunately, after the good battle that we saw them have. Going back to Thurman, though. So we watch him battling with Broomhead. This is for 12th position in the midst of that battle that we saw before that really just has a collection of cars together. Broomhead much tighter to the inside of the loop. Will that give him a better launch down the Wellington straight? That looks mildly so, but the double lot is not gaining.
Not gaining nearly as much as he would hope to be, but if he can be a little bit later on the brakes here, you see how he takes a wider angle apex through that corner. That's a good move from him. Now, once again, running the car a little bit wider, diamonding off left field ever so slightly. Run it now through Woodcut. It looks like Broomhead really has a much better handle on this car and is getting it to carry speed much better than Thurman in front of him.
He gets right up to the gearbox coming up to Cops, but he can't quite attack there. As they head it down into Maggots and Beckett's. This is going to be an important set of corners for him. Ooh, sawing away at the wheel a little bit. Looks like he maybe lost stuff momentarily, but he's got it back and going. Tries to get on the throttle, but Thurman is still pretty strong. He keeps Broomhead at bay with a 0.4 of a second gap.
And Joe, you saw there that aero wash coming through the penultimate corner of that complex. Broomhead not able to get the front grip as Broomhead runs over it, slides it, and goes off.
Oh. Mistakes are looking surprisingly easy to make today. Number of drivers just doing unforced errors. Let's watch this one more time. Is this another case of the curbs catching him out?
Not sure if it was the curbs or the grass here, Joe. That car, it's a little bit of everything. I think he carried a little bit too much speed up there through Stowe. You saw the car starting to break away. He almost caught it, and then the right front tires getting onto the curb, maybe touching the grass ever so slightly, and that just exacerbated the issue. So Michael Broomhead now all the way down to 16th. He's going to have to fight his way back.
We talked a little bit earlier about our highest AM driver, Christopher Richards. He still holds that position, and he's up to 9th place now. So up 3 spots, looking at a good points haul in that AM championship. But he's going to have to fend off at least one other AM driver. Jacob Exton is in that class, and he sits right behind him.
And you can see just how close Jacob is there to the gearbox, really keeping pressure out. That is Owen McLaughlin, a pro driver behind them. Owen for Blown Training Racing in championship contention here, so he's going to really want to get a good push on to try to get up through the field. But this AM battle right now really starting to shape up, and as I said, the way they award points in this AM championship, this is for the full win in the AM if you finish as the top of the AM drivers.
Down through Maggots and Beckett's. Richards looking to get himself clear the slipstream of Jacob Exton. And as he heads down the straight, you can see him maybe waving a little bit, trying to also grab a slipstream off of Richards there. Will go up ahead of them as they come off of Stowe and down past the pit entry. Still not able to do anything with it. Oh, but a little wide from Richards coming into Vale.
That's going to really let Exton start to close this up here. Gets a little bit of a closer line. Not able to fully catch, but here we go. These are two very, very fast sweepers here. And there you see Exton has to back off ever so slightly. That aero wash starting to come into effect. That's going to drop him out of attacking position for now.
In front of them, J.R. Williams closing on Nguyen. and Indy for 5th spot. Now, looks like Nguyen drops a little bit off of Declan on that run out of Aintree. So will J.R. Williams be able to at least get one? Pokes his nose out a little bit, but it looks like nothing doing.
But he's going to try to come back on the outside through Luffield. Come on, JR. That's a gutsy move if you can do it. He's going to play with the kitty litter there, but not get fully over to it, but still carries massive amounts of speed coming down. JR's got the speed. Is he going to make the move through Cops? He looks like he's going to back off ever so slightly. Spokes his nose to the inside, doesn't end up going for the move, and has to check up a little bit, and that's going to bring Olivier Legault into this picture now.
And remember, he took over Olivier Legault's spot not too long ago, so he really doesn't want to have to hand this one back. Frank Nguyen pulling a great defense thus far to hold on to 6th position. They come down the hangar straight, all of them trying to ride right in the tire tracks of the car ahead to get as much of a tow as possible, but nobody gets enough of one to make anything stick. So, well, but we got a mistake from Nguyen. My goodness, that car snapped quickly, and he gives up 2 positions in a blink of an eye.
He does, and it's so easy to do this up here through Stowe, Joe. Sorry for the rhyme. You see how he comes in here, starts to get onto the brakes. It looks like those right front tires just lock up ever so slightly, and that throws the car into a skid. It's a very, very tricky corner. It's almost a brush brake on that left foot, but we go back live. Or no, this is the replay of Exton trying to fight on Richards, and he's got it.
Yes, down into Vale. As soon as we saw that mistake, I looked behind them, and suddenly the 22 was on the attack. He is now our highest AM driver with that slick move into Vale.
He is, and behind them, the battle still continues, though. That's Richards and McLaughlin right on his tail. So this is by no means done. I think a little bit of an error there from Christopher Richards. Not really massive out-and-out speed from Jacob Exton. He's going to try to fight back now a little bit more.
This train of 5 cars being led by Exton swings it through Luffield. This is 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th place all together. Now, could we get on board with Owen McLaughlin looking forward? I am trying to understand if he gets close enough to Christopher Richards here. It says on the rear wing, BTR sucks. Who is he? Yeah, there it is right there. Who is he giving quite a specific slam on here?
Well, I think if you look out the wing, it's Born-Trainer Racing.
It's self-depreciation.
Yeah, there you go.
So as we come out and towards Vale, let's see if Owen McLaughlin gives the attack to Richards. No, not quite.
Richards really trying to do everything that he can do to keep McLaughlin at bay. McLaughlin, in turn, just pushing where he can. But you see the way this track ebbs and flows on these drivers. It's not a guarantee that if you're fast in one section, you're going to be fast at the next section. So very, very difficult, very wide line there from Owen McLaughlin.
Could be just trying things out. Like we said, there's a few different things you can do into here. Maybe he's trying to get into the mind of those ahead of them. Who's got the run coming down the Wellington straight? Richards, unfortunately, is losing touch with Exton, who seems to have fantastic pace here now that he is past that 49. And down into Brooklands, none of them going to give a go at things.
No, everybody's staying relatively calm there, although that is behind McLaughlin. Takashi Kita, he is up 3 places from his starting position. Takashi, always a very exciting driver to watch, so I think Owen McLaughlin's going to have his hands full here if he's not careful.
I think while we've got a moment, because it looks like nothing really is about to happen here, let's give some love to our leaders. Greg Seitz is still up at the front in that number 74. Looks like he's actually getting started to lap some cars. That's to Hamill just ahead of him. And behind Verity is about 3.7 seconds back. Yeah, there Hamill beautifully pulls out of the way and lets the Rust Racing driver get by. Verity not quick enough to try and take this one away from Greg on raw pace. But as we've said, Greg's been snake bit this season, and I suspect that he is basically waiting for the checkered flag to come, knowing that this thing ain't over till it's over.
No, I very much think Steven is just sort of pedaling it around here, being careful. He's got a 1.9 second gap to Julio Palacio behind him, so he's got some breathing room. Just doesn't want to make any mistake as we watch Palacio here on your screen popping his way out around the track. Now, Palacio in turn has about a 1 second gap up from David Menino, so things at the front of the field very much starting to space out.
In fact, the top four are a full 8 seconds ahead of the next car down, which was one of the battles that we were watching for a while. Declan Eady, who's kind of become a lone wolf. In fact, most of the action is between 10th, 11th, and 12th. In fact, that's Takeshi Kita just overtaking McLaughlin. Almost looked like Owen gave that one up intentionally and didn't want to fight it.
Yeah, I think that may be right. Owen just not wanting to fight too hard, knows he doesn't exactly have the speed to catch up on Takashi, but Takashi in turn will now set his sights up to Christopher Richards and Jacob Exton, that battle for the AM Championship.
Cops and down towards Maggots and Beckett's. We ride on board with Kita looking forward towards Christopher Richards. Kita is one of the pros, so it will cost points, but you have to remember that AM Championship is a completely separate points battle from the pro drivers, so it isn't a direct battle between the pair of them. But he doesn't want to give up the points that he could need later down the line. Is up at the top of the screen. You can see that Greg Seitz has set another of our fastest laps. He is not resting on his laurels.
No, he's not. And Joe, just flashing out of the back of the screen there, I saw Owen McLaughlin come into the pits. So I think that may be an answer as to what he was doing with Takashi Kita. He may have picked up some undertray damage, something like that, and just taking a bit of an early pit stop to get that repaired.
We'll watch and see if this one takes any longer. They are well within the pit window. In fact, they're just about at the halfway point. So this looks like he might be splitting it up in two even parts. And he is taking tires. We're usually looking at about 6 to 7 seconds for a normal stop. 8 seconds, so mildly slow. He might have had just a tiny bit of damage, but not a whole lot if he did. He's going to return to the track in 23rd, and he's got tons of clear track around him. Meanwhile, back to Richards, who's got Takeshi Kita on his rear wing. Coming off of Luffield, Takeshi's not able to actually get an overlap.
Takashi had a really, really good run there coming down through Brooklands, but not exactly able to get it down. I think the move by Owen McLaughlin to take tires, a very prescient one. Yes, temperatures are low here, but we have seen time and time again, Silverstone loves to tear up tires, and I think Takashi maybe just be losing a little bit of front grip. So he may be coming in for tires on his stop as well as the rest of the field.
It's a pretty stiff wind, though, that they've got going. 20 kilometers an hour, which equates to about 13 miles an hour. So the drivers are having to deal with maybe a few gusts. As we said, it's not cars that rely on downforce a whole lot, but I mean, they are basically giant airfoils on there. So I'm sure it's not making it fun trying to predict which way the car is going to go. And Richards, in the meantime, bails on that fight and is going to come in for a pit stop.
Trying to cover off a little bit of McLaughlin there. If I had to take a guess, Brett Thurman is also going to be coming in behind him. So more drivers electing to come down pit lane here. I would expect the rest of these stops to be completed within the next 5 to 8 minutes, if my numbers are right.
Palacio, a little ways up the road, still sitting in third. It's got about a second and a half over David Menino. They are in the same position that they started this race. I'm keeping half an eye on where Richards is in relation to McLaughlin. And I think he's going to be out mildly ahead. Actually, McLaughlin might be gaining No, looks like Christopher is well clear.
So staying out that one lap later, playing a little bit better for Christopher Richards and McLaughlin as they come out. Looks like that's about a 3-second gap. So that gap has definitely expanded a little bit.
And McLaughlin just had an off coming out of the loop, kicking up some dirt. And that might put him under pressure because the 9 and the 69, both who have pitted, are coming up behind him. Looking down to the inside, Paul Wildridge, does he have something for him? Yes, he does. He manages to get through, but yet again, intentionally holding wide. Owen McLaughlin just not feeling confident enough to fight with the other cars. Brett Thurman as well is going to get into 22nd because of that.
Right on board with Owen here. Yeah, I think you're right, Joe. Just not really feeling it. But David Menino, the first of our leaders, looks like he is now popping down pit lane.
So this is going to be interesting. Will this kick off pit stops for those around him? J.R. Williams also coming in the 213. But Seitz, Verdi, Palacio, they all stay out. Edie stays out. Looks like Nguyen is going to stay out. Takeshi Kita is going to pit. Now, he was in a fight with Christopher Richards, remember. So where is the 49? No tires for Menino as he is back out in 5.3 seconds.
Interesting there as J.R. Williams looks like he is heading out. I don't believe he took tires as well, but a 5-second pit stop. Richards keeping an eye on the corner of my screen. He is coming around the final corner right now as Takashi Kita gets up and underway.
And where is Richards going by right now? He's up to speed, and I think he's extended the gap. Yes, indeed. They were separated by almost nothing when they came in, and it is back up to a second between them, 1.5 seconds now that I can see. So that worked out well for the 49.
It will, and he's got a good bit of clean air in front of him, about a 6-second gap up the road to Dave Peterson in 15th. So now Christopher can just focus in on putting in some hot laps and trying to hold on to that position best he can.
Last lap, we saw Menino pit, and the leader's coming down to the pit lane right now, and he is indeed entering the pits. So the 74 responds. We are getting close to the end of the pit window, though, so this could just be where a lot of cars will be coming in. Indeed, Verdi joins him. Palacio. Edie's a little ways behind, quite a ways behind, honestly. So we'll have to wait for the next car. And yes, I think we've run out of the limit for the fuel tanks for these cars as we watch Greg Seitz slowly make his way towards his stall.
Yeah, Joe, absolutely. Everybody, Palacio, Edie, Legault, Nguyen, Exton, Adam Wright, everybody coming into the pits on this cycle as these little Indy Pro 2000s have completed their fuel windows. Not a lot of these leaders looking like they're taking tires, though, so I guess my predictions about tire wear in Silverstone proven unassailed.
Seitz is back out, and he retains the lead. Where is Menino? Menino comes back in third place. I believe he jumped Palacio. Yes. Wow.
And jumped him by a good amount, Joe. About 2 seconds back to Palacio. Their stops were about a 1.5 seconds apart.
I think Palacio must have taken tires because that's quite a bit more long of a pit stop than Menino.
Yeah.
Well, that play in down the line. Oh, and we got a good battle between Williams and Edie. Edie's on the outside as they come down the Wellington straight, even though he had a nose ahead. Williams is deep on the brakes. Job's not done yet. Track switches back into Luffield. Edie tries to stick with it, but superior grip for the 213 allows him ahead. Tail wagging off of that 180-degree corner. And now Declan Edie gets a second shot at things. We've been waiting for that two-wide moment into Cops, and we're going to get it right here as Edie's down to the inside. Are they going to come together? No, they're given space, but it looks like Edie is not as brave carrying the speed, and J.R. Williams back up to fifth.
Oh, mega stuff there. That's exactly what you love to see around that complex here at Silverstone. Indy runs very wide coming through Maggots and Beckett's there. Going to lose buckets of time up to J.R. Williams, but now it's trying to get the power back down as they come down the hanger straight. I don't think they're going to be anywhere near close as that, but another good battle behind is Frank Nguyen starting to close down on Olivier Legault.
You know what I think may have happened? Remember, Williams was out of position. I think his early stop served him extremely well because he finally got some clear air and he jumped a number of cars in the process. Meanwhile, watching Nguyen on the attack with Legault down into Vale. Legault does not defend the spot, so that's going to put Frank into 7th.
I think he may have caught Olivier sleeping ever so slightly on that. That was a very late on the brakes move from Frank Nguyen, one that we've frankly come to expect from the relative new driver here in the PRL series, but holds it down well and move him up that spot over Olivier Legault.
Down through the arena section. Let's see if Frank can get a good enough launch to keep from giving Olivier a chance to fight back down the Wellington Straight, and it looks like he will. Gets himself about half a second ahead of the number 88, so really nothing doing there down into Brooklands.
Really do. Oh, but when Nguyen runs wide, and that's going to give the spot back to Legault, and now Jacob Exton starting to join in the party as well. This becoming a 3-car scrap.
Wow, he had it for just a few corners and unfortunately hands it right back. So coming down towards Cops once again. The 3 drivers close together, but off the corner. Oh, struggling Frank Nguyen unfortunately checks up Jacob Exton. Easily going to get himself into 8th. Another set of points there for our lead AM driver.
And Exton had a mega run through Cops, absolutely nailed that apex. Now as he tries to get out of Chapel onto the hanger straight, looks like he's got an equally good run here. They're going to be each about equidistant from each other. I think there's a chance that Jacob Exton can look for a shot. No, he's going to stay nice in line into Stowe and just try to follow in the tire tracks of Olivier Legault. Runs a little bit wide there, tail getting slappy. May try to go for a move. He does. He looks down to the inside, but Olivier Legault blocks him off well.
Oh, but he's offline. Look at this. And Exton knows it. He's trying to get the launch off the final turn. He's got it. Oh, this is going to be mighty brave if he tries this. Looking for the side-by-side through Abbey. Who's going to be willing to give way? Neither one. They're going to come together. A slight touch. That slows up Exton. Here comes Nguyen right back at him. Round the outside of Farm, down the inside of Village, but he's not got the job done yet. Breaking deep. Exton trying to defend, trying to get back into this race. He's very shallow through the loop, but he holds on to 8th. This has been a mighty scrap between this trio.
It has, and I think Frank Nguyen may have gotten a little bit of a better run there out of the loop, trying to get the pressure down. He's not going to be close enough to make the move down into Brooklands, but we've seen how this fight back can happen. You can see Frank Nguyen taking multiple lines, different lines for the cars in front, trying to get a little cleaner air on that front wing and just get a better power out of the corner. Not going to help him out of left field, though.
Last time through Cops, we saw Nguyen slow up dramatically, trying to keep from going off track. Makes me wonder if the 97 is close on incident points and he's worried about getting a drive-through penalty off the turn. Looks like a great run for Exton, but he's only going to close on the 88. He's not going to be near enough to try and pass him. We ride on board with Nguyen heading through the Maggots and Beckett sequence, and Nguyen is very strong down into there.
He is, and Exton ran a little bit wide, but that is all about that compromise like I talked about, Joe. Exton compromised mid-corner, mid-sequence there, but it allowed him to get a mega power out of Chapel. And look at the gap he's been able to pull, but slams on the brakes, almost running into the back of Olivier Legault. But there, good power off the line. Can he try to make the complex now? Going into Vale, goes to the inside. He got it. He's around Legault. Legault tries to fight back, looks for the over-under, has better speed. They're going to be coming close across the line.
Are they going to Do it again. They're going to do it again. We already saw them try too wide through Abbey last time. Did they learn their lesson? Are they going to give each other enough space? Yes, they are. But it looks like Exton comes out the worst of the pair, tries to get his nose in, gets chopped off through Farm. And Legault will claim 7th place, but he's very deep into the corner. Somehow makes the apex. And the 88 is on fire today. That is just brave stuff out of him.
Really, really great moves, but we're going to jump back to another hot battle we've had with Declan Eady.
Yep, this is for 5th place with J.R. Williams. They were extremely tight down into Brooklands, but Williams is going to be able to hold him off as the sun starts to peek out from behind the clouds here in England. They come up to Cops. Is this going to be just as feisty as what we just witnessed from behind them?
I certainly hope so, but Declan Eady clearly has other thoughts on his mind, deciding to keep that red machine a little bit calmer. Whoa, starts to poke his nose down to the inside of Maggots. Declan, you can't do that there, my friend, but he's going to be trying to gain the gap. Now, here it is, around Chapel. Who's got the better power off the line? They look about relatively equal on pace, but Eady closing fast. The draft coming into a play. Here he comes. He's going to go to the outside around Stowe.
It's going to be a race down into this long uphill right-hander, cresting over, and he loses out, nearly runs into Declan Eady. Williams catches it and averts disaster. I'd love an onboard with the 213. Wow, all the way down to the inside, tries to drift it back out.
Oh, just gets it down there, those tires locking up ever.
Thank goodness they did not make contact there. That would have been a massive accident. That looked very similar to, who was it that we saw spin in that way? I was trying to remember earlier on that we had another driver that just was on his own and the rear just started to come around in that corner. So clearly the car likes to get loose as we once again look back to Legault, and he's given the spot back to Exton.
He has, and now Frank Nguyen is going to be back hounding Olivier Legault, trying to see what he can do. Now, just to keep in track of where everybody is right now, this battle, they are about 8 seconds back from J.R. Williams in 6th, and they are only about 3 seconds up the road from Takashi Kita in 10th, so they've got to be a little bit careful. But here comes Legault, taking the narrower line there through Luffield, but I think the momentum is going to carry a little bit with Jacob Exton, and indeed, you can see he pulls away ever so slightly now as they come down through Woodcut and line up for Cops.
I think that diamond off exit then certainly helped them there. Legault almost punching a hole in the gearbox of the number 22. Thankfully, they don't make contact once again. They've already touched at least once this race. Don't want to try and risk another.
No, they do not. And there you can see Frank Nguyen now starting to get his nose into Olivier Legault's gearbox. He gets a good run out of Chapel there. Power down on the hanger straight. Nguyen trying to get it, but it just looks like Legault's got better top line speed. The draft in front of him with Exton helping him out. Nguyen not able to make the attack into Stowe.
Now, from this camera angle, it looks like Legault has a little bit of damage on the rear wing. As down to the inside, Frank's going to have another peek at it. That one doesn't bear fruit either. I think Olivier is struggling a little bit with maybe some aero damage. Again, not ultra critical with these cars, but it could be slowing him down just a little bit.
It certainly could, and especially at a track like this where we talked about how you want to maximize speed down the straights. If that is the case, that could really be compromising him at that top line speed.
7 minutes left to go, and we've got plenty of battles to keep us interested. There's a whole big one here with Thurman Richards, a guy on right, and McLaughlin nearly losing control of things coming out of the loop. Almost gave the car into that corner's name, it seems. Holds it together. Adam Wright still in front of him, and they'll have to continue to fight for this 14th position.
And a good sequence of corners there from Owen McLaughlin. You see how late of an apex he took down into Brooklyn's, giving him a little bit more speed, but he falls back ever so slightly there, coming through Luffield, not really able to get the power down, falling back ever so slightly. Now here it is. If we stay on board, you can see just bleeding off the throttle ever so slightly, not enough downforce to take these cars flat out through cops.
Certainly not. I'm watching both this and Legault and Exton, because Olivier took a think about trying it into cops, but then decided against it. Oh, he's got another great run, though. Let's go back to that battle for seventh place, down to the inside. Legault got a great run on the hanger straight. He's to the inside, but multiple cars have lost control through there. He holds on to it, but it opens the door because Frank Nguyen now has a pick. He's got the inside if he can just manage to seal the deal. And no, Legault's going to fend him off.
Good spatial awareness there from Olivier Legault, drifting that car to the outside line and cutting off any momentum that Frank Nguyen could have had. But Joe, I gotta tell you, Takashi Kita now 1.6 seconds behind these guys. This battling is pulling Kita into the mix, so this could be a 4-car battle if they're not careful.
Yeah, I think the 30 is going to be eager to try and dig in and have fun with these guys. And if they keep fighting like this, he will definitely get the chance. They've been slowing each other up a hell of a lot. So we hop on board with Kita now looking up at the trio along the Wellington straight. Exton still in 6th, Legault in 8th, and Nguyen in 9th.
And Kita's only got to gain a couple more tenths before he can start feeling the effect of the draft of those 3 cars in front of you. And there you can see just how close they all are. And now there's another wrinkle in the mix. David Hebert, lap traffic.
He's going to stay out of the way. He's holding to the right. He's aware of the situation. He's slowing up big time. He's going to try and let all of them through. Yes. Oh, beautiful job by the 16. All 4 cars managed to go through cops without being held up.
Yeah, and that's a very, very good track awareness there from David. Going through multiple wide through cops, you heard us grip and grin as they did it before. You really can't do it, but here comes the battle. It looked like for a second that Nguyen had a good run. I think he still does. Down the hanger straight. Here comes Frank Nguyen, but again, that top speed for Nguyen just doesn't look like it's there. He's not able to catch up to Legault, but Legault dives out to the inside trying to scare Exton off the line.
Doesn't quite work. Oh, Legault is slow. He's having to go defensive. And Nguyen stays on the racing line. Could he pull the over-under here through the Vale chicane? Not quite. He's going to stay put as behind them, Richards and Gaillon are going to swap positions as Gaillon gets into 12th. And it's not over. Here we go. He's trying to cut to the inside, holding off Christopher Richards down through Abbey. Richards backs out, looks to switch him out, go across. Oh, but he runs out of grip. And as they break into Village, they'll stay in position.
Oh, I thought for sure that Richards was going to have a run there, but this really is a 4-car battle. That's Adam Wright and Owen McLaughlin behind them. Adam Wright looking like he's got a whole head of steam now as they go down the Wellington straight. You can see there Alex Gaillon ducking down to the inside, trying to break the draft of Christopher Richards. That's Adam Wright not backing off. Great speed down into Brooklands.
Not enough speed, though. Richards still ahead of Wright, who we have hopped on board with. As they come out of Luffield, a little bit of counter steering there from him, unfortunately. That'll cost him time, that little bit of wheel spin. Looking at Legault, he once again got extremely close to Exton, but didn't carry his pace through cops. Oh, but he sends it in deep down into the Maggots and Beckett sequence. Well, that compromises exit.
Looks like they're going to keep it relatively even, but here comes Legault on the charge. That top speed for Nguyen not coming into play. Here comes Legault to the outside, around Stowe. He's going to go the long way around, but it looks like Exton a little bit braver on the brakes. Legault thinking about the over-under, but just tries to carry the momentum. He now switches back, goes to the outside, around Club and Vale. Can he do it? Here comes Nguyen down the inside of Legault.
He's tried that multiple times, and it still is not working. Legault has him bottled up and is not going to let that black and purple machine by. They're running out of laps at this point. They're going to get the white flag next time by. And my goodness, what a fight this has been.
I really have to think that Frank Nguyen may be running just a little bit higher downforce where he is able to close. The top speed there for the 97 car just doesn't seem like it is there today, and it's really costing him. I think if he can just get his nose down the inside coming up into Stowe, he could make the pass, but we just haven't seen him been able to do it today.
What amazed me is as they went offline along the hangar straight, there was so much dirt being kicked up. That has got to compromise their grip down into Stowe. As we have hopped on board, you can just see in the mirrors. I love this angle with the helmet cam. It really gives you a sense of what the driver sees both ahead and behind.
Yeah, very much so. You get a sense of how you have to drive with two eyes looking two different directions. Legault starting to think about things, and thankfully enough there, that's Exton able to hold him off, keeping him at bay through Maggots and Beckett's. But Legault is not to be denied here, keeping up the pressure. A little bit more of a narrow line, but I think that's going to give him a mega run down the hangar straight. Here they come.
He holds to the inside. And as they get down towards, he's going to try to pinch him in. Legault trying to force him as far inside as he's willing. And that's going to get him the spot. Things are starting to get rough out here. And Nguyen has a shot at trying against a different car now. Almost looking at 3 wide into Vale. Looks like he still can't get the job done. And that behind him is Takeshi Kita. He has caught them, but unfortunately he was surprised by the awkward line that Nguyen was taking.
Yeah, Nguyen came out there and you saw Kita just have to respond a little bit, trying to keep himself from going. But Exton now ready to fight back on Olivier Legault as they come down here into Village. He's on the outside. If he can hold down the momentum, that'll give him a better line through the loop. He indeed has it, but his tail starts to slide a little bit. That's going to swing the advantage back to Legault.
It's a drag race as they come on to the Wellington straight. The edge is going to go to Exton, both with the inside and slightly more momentum, but they stall out there almost even as they come to the braking. Exton with the inside. Can he shut the door? Yes, he can. Here comes Nguyen trying to put his nose in there as well. And here comes Takeshi Kita. Suddenly, Takeshi back in the mix, but he can't get the launch off the corner to win into the dirt. He's going to give up the spot.
He is, and here comes Kita.
And we've got to duck away because up at the front of all of this is this man, Greg Seitz, looking for his 3rd win of the season, trying to get back into the championship. It is going to be victory here today at Silverstone for the number 74.
A dominant performance from Greg Seitz, winning by over 8 seconds from his teammate Stephen Verity, who is just now crossing the line in a 1-2 for Rust Racing.
And it's a battle between Edie and Williams. This is for 5th position. Williams is poking and prodding. He's going to go way deep down into Vale. He'll actually get himself the inside into Club. If he can out-accelerate his rival to the line, he's got this one. It's going to be very close, though, between the pair of them, and he does it. 5th place for Williams. Exton with 7th. And then we go Edie to 6th, rather, as 7th. Exton is just ahead of Olivier Legault, but he's going to try and cross him over. Can he get the spot back in time? It's another one that's going to be right up to it, and it looks like Exton just barely gets it by 19 thousandths of a second.
Shades of Felipe Massa there. Incredible.
Let's take another look at it. This was just great stuff from Legault, trying to fight back and take it. Was right on it, and just a couple more inches, he would have been into that 7th spot. I'm sure those two are going to be laughing after that one because that was some fantastic stuff. But as the rest of the cars trickle across the line, that's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. welcome back to Silverstone. Up at the front, things got spread apart. We didn't see much of the leaders. Greg Seitz took another victory that I'm sure he's quite happy with ahead of our points leader, Stephen Verity, to chop away at that lead, who Verity finishing second was then another multiple seconds ahead of David Menino, who wound up in third. Julio Palacio just off the podium finished fourth, and this is where we finally see all the fun. J.R. Williams climbing back forward and winding up in fifth, barely edged out Declan Eady at the end. Eady in sixth. And then this fight, my goodness, this took the lion's share of screen time. Jacob Exton with seventh, just barely, literally about a wing ahead of Olivier Legault, who took eighth. Takeshi Kita right behind them in ninth, and Frank Nguyen, unfortunately, a mistake on the last lap, sending him to the back of those four and in 10th.
Alex Guyon able to bring the car home in 11th place, followed by Adam Wright and Owen McLaughlin. Christopher Richards was fighting for a lot of that with Wright and McLaughlin, but a spin late on caused him to fall back to 14th. Brett Thurman and Brett Accord, the last two drivers there in 15th and 16th, followed by Brian Hotham and Barry Cochran. Paul Wildridge able to bring the car home in 19th spot, with Michael Broomhead in 20th.
21st went to Aaron Roos, while Daniel Barnett was 22nd, and Don Bowden was our last car on the lead lap in 23rd. Then it's Nick Colander in 24th and Donald Olson in 25th, followed by Bart Cook and David Hebert, the last two cars, 1 lap down. Sean Duhamel, 2 laps down in 28th, 7 laps down for Dave Peterson in 29th. In fact, I think he DNF'd in the end. Alexander, Gore, and Gunderson also did not finish this race. That gives us a chance to talk to our winner today, Greg Seitz, who basically took off and never looked back. This one looked like you had it under control, sir.
Yeah, finally traffic didn't cause any issues this time, so it was kind of clear sailing. People got out of the way. I think it's a wide track, so it's a lot less of an issue with getting past lap cars here. But yeah, both myself and teammate had I thought really good pace here. So yeah, really happy with the outcome.
Clearly, we noticed that you and Steven were 1-2 in the warm-up, 1-2 in the qualifying, and 1-2 in the race. So is there some secret you two have found, or what is it?
Well, I think it's just practicing together and working together, and we run laps together to practice running side by side, and just talk about the various lines to kind of eke out the last couple tenths there. And yeah, we work really well together. So Steven's a great partner.
You entered this race 21 points back from Verity, but then obviously both with the bonus for the pole. I think you took the fastest lap, if I'm seeing correctly, and the win as well. You're going to take a chunk out of it, but do you have enough rounds left to slim that margin?
It's not really clear. I picked up a huge number of penalty points, but I'm really not quite sure why, honestly, from a couple of races ago, and that's really set me back. But I'm going to just keep pushing and trying to win races and try to get as many points as I can. And the bonus points, everyone counts. But honestly, Steven is doing such a fantastic job of being super consistent. He's definitely the guy to beat for sure at this point.
It sure seems like it. Well, it'll be fascinating to watch you be the hunter instead of the hunted in the last stage of the season. Congratulations on another win.
Yeah, thanks so much.
That was Greg Seitz' victory today for the 74 as the fifth podium out of 6 races for Stephen Verity. Means DJ is talking to a guy that has had a lot of champagne lately.
I was going to say, Steven, it's becoming a bit of a formality here to congratulate you on being on the podium, but looks like a pretty quiet race compared to most of the ones we've seen. But how was it from under the helmet?
Hey guys, yeah, it was relatively quiet. I had a couple of heart attacks when lap traffic or other traffic came out of the pits directly in front of me. But other than that, if that's as exciting as it gets, then I'll take that. And David was definitely closing at the end, so I was definitely pushing, and the tires are falling apart. So it was stressful from my perspective, but relatively uneventful.
Well, if it was stressful from your perspective, we couldn't tell at all. So I think that's a testament to you as a driver. But I wanted to ask you, we're not normally used to seeing this series being on the sort of mega European tracks like this. It tends to be a little bit more Americanized, as it were, as these are American cars. How do you find the differences in going back and forth? And how do you like the differences on the European compared to the American circuits?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the European circuits. I'm like obsessed with Formula One and the single-seater ladder. So my main series in iRacing is usually F3, which is on the European track. So I'm quite familiar with them. But I really enjoy the kind of tight, twisty American tracks as well. With a lot of elevation change. It's nice to be able to switch between them, honestly.
Yeah, I have to imagine it keeps you on your toes, if nothing else. But looking ahead, we've got to really start to talk about championship. Obviously, with a day like today, Greg's starting to close down on you a little bit. The penalty points put him back. But as we come into the last rounds of this season, how close of a scrap do you think this is going to end up being?
We still have like 40% of the season left to go. And as you all know, anything can happen in any race. So, yeah, it's all to play for. There's one bad race or one mistake can change the entire face of the season. So in the championship, yeah, it's all to play for, and everyone I'm sure is on their toes.
Well, it's certainly good to watch. I will tell you that from our perspective. Congratulations again on a second place, and anybody you'd like to thank on your way out.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to thank Rust Racing and Greg, of course, for all the work that he puts in with me, and you all for broadcasting. Really appreciate it.
Of course, Stephen. Congratulations once again. And now Joe Peak has caught up with our third place driver, David Menino.
Yeah, Menino pulling one of the more interesting moves out there, managing to overtake Palacio on pit strategy. Now, that surprised me because usually you have to be a little bit closer to the driver ahead to be able to overtake like that. I mean, did it surprise you that you came out in third as well, or were you expecting to be able to jump him?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. I thought I'd be a little bit closer because I really went aggressive into the pits, like so much so where I was a little bit worried I might have gotten a pit lane speeding violation. But and actually in talking with Julio after the race, he's been a bit more conservative on pit entry. So I think that's what made the difference. My outlap was pretty good too, but it definitely wasn't good enough to make up the second or so that I was behind him.
And in the end, you were starting to close down on Verity. Do you think you left anything on the table that if you had a few more laps, you would have been able to finish second today? Or is that really 100% the full thing?
I mean, I made a few mistakes after the pits, just stuff that cost me like a 3/10 here, 3/10 there. So, I mean, if I didn't make those mistakes, then maybe. But I think we were pretty even on pace. And unless I was within Verity's draft, I think it would have been really difficult for me to make a pass.
That's understandable. Well, next round, we're heading to another European circuit over to Imola, one that's got a few more chicanes than they've got here and tends to certainly cause cars to bump over those curbs. Are you looking forward to it? Is that one that's not really on your favorites list?
Oh, I love Imola. Imola's a great track. It's really challenging. The curbs will be really tricky in this car, especially. And if nothing else, it's one of the prettiest tracks to drive around. So you can enjoy that at the very least.
Yeah. It's from what I understand, it's a public park when it's not in use as a racetrack. So it does look quite beautiful. Well, congratulations on another podium, sir. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for this one?
I'd like to thank you guys for putting on this broadcast. It's always enjoyable to get to watch this. I'd like to thank my SRT esports team. And lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to my friend Danny. He's undergoing some toe surgery here soon, so I wanted to wish him all the best.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully he'll be able to recover quickly and everything goes safely. As I think that is going to be it for our interview. Sadly, we kind of wanted to talk to Jacob Exton. We saw him around for a little bit, but he seems to have taken off. Maybe we'll see him next week. But before we get to next week, let's thank our sponsors for today's race. Of course, with Simulation Motorsports Affinity being SIMMSA, and they are at SIMMSA.net if you want to check out their website or just simply get involved with the world of sim racing. And then, of course, there is NinjaTrader. Their website is very simple as well. It's just NinjaTrader.com. And finally, of course, Butt Kicker products can be found at thebuttkicker.com if you want to get something for your sim rig. But we have to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. We've listed them here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Her Bandcamp is there at the bottom. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. As we mentioned, the next race at Imola will be Thursday, and that will be February 11th, and that'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.